Feast your eyes on the class of 1974. This bike dominated at the Isle of Man for several years. Got a second at the Daytona Speedway in 71 and 72. And this was owned by the same guy since 1978, who only sold it because he was retiring. He had a wood restoration shop up the street here, and he kept this indoors in his showroom since it was basically new. So it's a real diamond. Engine stone cold. Basically just tickle these carbs right here, and she'll fire right up. Bill Kelly's gone through this bike top to front and top to back, and it runs like a diamond. Wait till you hear this thing. Zooming up and down the street, imagine what it would be like ripping down the Isle of Man on this thing 50 years ago, or the high banks of Daytona. This was the fastest production Triumph ever made, and it is in pretty much all original condition. That's the original paint job on the tank, original pinstripes. He had owned it since 1978, and it had very low miles on it when he bought it. It only has 33,000 on it now. Bill Kelly spent quite a bit of time working on this bike, went through it top to bottom, right up the whole work order in the eBay ad. But if you take a close look, you can see this thing's an absolute diamond. If you've been around Tridents for a while, and vintage Triumphs in general, you know how hard it is to find a rare original paint survivor like this. The original saddle, the original paint, the original chrome, all the aluminum. The only items that aren't original on this bike are the consumables, like the tires, chain and sprockets. It has a set of Dunstall decibel exhaust on it. That's the period correct right pipes to put on that. And also has the K&N filter charger system with a bigger jet. So it's what we call a stage one. The intake and the exhaust and the jetting are set up perfectly. Very carefully used by the second owner. It's only a 2-owner bike. It's a mint classic, matching numbers Triumph. World-class performance, race-proven engine and suspension, 5-speed, 750cc, 120-degree overhead valve, 3-cylinder motorcycle, over 60 horsepower, and about 500 pounds weight. This thing would do well over the ton, over 120 miles per hour. And it's a product of continuous development and race testing of Triumph's triple. This Triumph had they called it Slippery Sam, was the Triumph's iconic Trident that dominated the Isle of Man production TT, the most prodigious race in the world from 71 to 75. So make no mistake, this was the superbike to have back in the day. Winner of numerous international and Anglo-American match road races, placed second place overall in 1970 and 71 at the Daytona 200. When we got the bike, it had been sitting in his display room for the last 30 years. He had a new Moto Guzzi California motorcycle, brand new, that he rode, and he just had this thing cleaned up sitting in his shop in the showroom. So it was more of a modern piece of art. But for us, I feel they're meant to be ridden. So we went through the bike top to bottom. We put, what was it, 56 hours, Ron, total? Yep. Labor into it between the detail shop and the 25 hours in the detail shop. I'll just go over what the detail shop did. All the aluminum, the fork lowers, the engine cases, every piece of aluminum on the bike, the engine cases on this side were all polished to the original factory, brand new luster. All the chrome was polished. We had Woody, our professional paint expert here, buff and polish all the painted surfaces on the bike. And then it was given a full, what we call a rotisserie detail, where it was steam cleaned, hand washed, and every square inch of it was polished from top to bottom. Every square inch of it, from the bottom of the engine cases to the top of the handlebar. That was 25 hours. And then it went into the service department, where Bill Kelly worked on this thing literally for probably 6 weeks on and off between ordering parts and everything. His work order was, what was his work order? Was it 34? 34
hours, yep.
Anyways, I got the work order right over there, and I have the write-up on it. I'll go over that here, and all this will be listed on the actual write-up for it. But it has new NGK spark plugs. It has a new Yuasa battery. We also put a battery tender lead. Show them the battery tender lead where it dangles down right there. That's so you can plug it in, the battery won't die. The ignition points were cleaned, dressed, and gapped. The fuel tank was removed, drained, flushed, and inspected, and then power washed the inside of the fuel tank with hot water power washer. And then we soaked it for 24 hours in a Vapo Rust to clean the inside of the tank out. Then we rinsed and re-inspected the fuel tank. We installed new fuel petcocks. You can zoom in, see those are brand new. New fuel lines, new fuel filters, and new inline fuel filters on both sides. The carburetors were removed, completely disassembled, cleaned, tuned, and balanced the carburetors. It's running fresh VP94 non-ethanol fuel. We adjusted the valves, new rocker box gaskets up on the top there, fresh 10W40 Spectral engine oil. The front brake master cylinder, we tried to rebuild it, but we couldn't, so we ended up putting a brand new front brake master cylinder on here with the new front brake lever. The new brake line, upper brake line, is brand new. We filled and bled the system with fresh Motul brake fluid. Then we took the whole front end apart, removed the front wheel bearings and inspected them, cleaned and inspected the front brake pads, cleaned the front brake rotor with a Goodson brake hone, and then re-greased all the wheel bearings, serviced both axles, put new front fork axle caps on. You can zoom in, see those on the bottom of the forks, those are brand new. And we installed a brand new Dunlop K81 410x19. It's a brand new tire, still has a hairy nubs on it. You can zoom in and see that. The rear tire was given the same treatment, a new Dunlop K81 410x19 rear tire and tube. New front and rear 1.6-inch rim locks. We installed a new gold EK heavy-duty final drivetrain, which is beautiful. The new handlebar switch on the right side of the handlebar is new, and we installed a new OEM replacement taillight assembly because the original had gotten damaged in shipping, I believe. New taillight lens, and gave it a 100-point check over. When I say 100, I mean Bill worked on this thing for weeks to get it tuned properly. Of course, the detail shop has said steam cleaned, hand washed, polished, and waxed this thing to perfection. Carefully cleaned the engine cases, exhaust, wheels, forks, all the chrome, buffed and polished the fuel tank. Woody did that, and Bill tested and tuned it many times. Went through all the electrical, got the headlight, the tail light, turn signals, and the horn working. So she's really a super rare 50-year-old classic original paint survivor that we just spent 56 hours of shop labor and prodigious amount of time and effort massaging it back and tuning it to its former glory. It handles like brand new with the tires are super sticky, brand new Dunlops. The chain, the tires, the brakes, the carburation, the way Bill did a wonderful job on this thing. Is tuned beautifully, and it's a joy to ride. And it sounds, every time I'm gonna say Bill test rode this at least 6 or 7 times, and every time I heard it run up the road, I was just like, I'm an old school Triumph guy. This jacket I'm wearing here is a Gary Nixon jacket. If you zoom in on it, You can see the Grand National Championships that he won, 67, 68, 69, at Daytona and elsewhere, all on Triumphs. This is a Triumph factory racing jacket from that era, and I've been riding Triumphs. My dad had a 72 Daytona that he bought in 75 when I was 10 years old, and I was riding that bike by the time I was 12 off-road in the field behind our house, and I had the keys to it by the time I was 15. I got arrested riding it on the road when I was 15 before I had even had a license. So that's a whole nother story, but just a joy. I'm gonna be 59 tomorrow, and I've been riding these bikes since I was 10 years old, and this is one of the best running Tridents I've been on. They're very, very hard to find them in good condition like this, where one guy owned it since 78, and it was his pride and joy. So you can see the center stand was repainted, the kickstand was repainted. We repainted the swing arm on it. You don't have to be a math major to figure that close to 60 hours labor at today's shop rates plus parts. We've installed about we've invested about $9,000 in shop labor and parts on this to make it what it is. I mean, it looked like this when we got it, but it was sitting for 30 years, and we had to go through everything on it and replace everything I mentioned. So it's done. It's ready to ride. Back into the museum on the second floor. It'll be in our British bike display in the New England Motorcycle Museum. It's definitely a museum piece. It's not perfect. It has a little patina on the paint, but that's the original 50-year-old paint job. It's got a little patina on the fork tubes. That's the original fork tubes, guys. That's the original front fender. The bike's never been crashed or damaged. And we know the provenance. It was right here in Ellington since 1978. So it's a freaking diamond. Bid high and bid often. If you've been looking for one of these, they're going up in value. It's better than the stock market for sure. It's a classic that'll give you lots of years of enjoyment and a certain level of enjoyment just looking at it, let alone riding it. So we offer financing through Freedom Road. We can ship it anywhere in the world for you. We've got 100% positive feedback after 8,000 motorcycles sold on eBay, because what we say is what things are, and we stand behind the products we sell. So my son Kenny Jr., when you call in, he'll take care of you. He handles all the motorcycle sales. We're here 6 days a week. Call us anytime. 860-454-7024. We'll hook you up. Thanks for watching. Don't let this one get away, man. This one's a diamond. God bless America. Long live the king.